Welcome back to Warpaths of Europe. Before we dive in, if you love learning the practical side of history, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave a comment with your favourite historical defence technique. Today we're taking a close look at how doors and windows were secured in Europe for centuries, and why these methods weren't just decorative. They were built to last even under the pressures of war and raids. In the Middle Ages, most homes and castles used heavy wooden doors, reinforced with iron. These weren't just about aesthetics. The wood itself, usually oak or chestnut, was selected for density and durability, while iron straps and bands reinforced weak points. Large iron hinges and bolts were crafted to resist prying and brute force. A well-made door from the 14th century could withstand repeated blows from axes or battering attempts before giving way. For anyone interested in practical application, the takeaway is clear. Modern DIY enthusiasts can replicate these principles by reinforcing doors with metal bands or solid cores, in a way that distributes force evenly rather than relying on a single lock. Windows were another critical point of entry. Glass was rare and expensive, so most medieval windows were either small openings or had shutters made of thick timber. Iron bars were a common addition, but unlike modern grids, these bars were often individually forged, irregular, and set deep into masonry, making them extremely difficult to remove without specialized tools. For survivalists, understanding this teaches the value of layering defenses. A strong core, multiple barriers, and irregular reinforcement make any entry point harder to breach. Locks evolved with both technology and warfare. Early locks in Europe were simple wooden mechanisms, often sliding bolts that could be blocked or released with a key made of wood or iron. By the 12th century, locksmithing became a specialized trade, producing wards and pins that could only be moved with the correct key. Castles and wealthy homes often had multiple locks, each serving a specific purpose. Some were internal, preventing accidental opening, while others were external, protecting against intruders. A practical lesson from history is redundancy. If you're securing a property today, or even, a small cabin, the principle of multiple locking points is directly applicable. A single deadbolt isn't enough if a second barrier can be easily bypassed. In regions frequently raided, doors and windows weren't just fortified, they were designed to buy time. Barred doors, often made from thick vertical planks bound with iron hoops, could be bolted from the inside with sliding bars. Windows had internal grates, sometimes with additional wooden shutters. The goal was never to make a breach impossible, but to slow attackers until help arrived or defenders could act. Applying this to modern understanding, delaying access is as important as preventing it outright. Layering barriers in stages, an outer gate, reinforced door, internal lock, reflects the same logic medieval builders used for survival. In defensive architecture, placement was strategic. Doors were often recessed or set behind porticos, reducing leverage for battering rams. Windows were elevated, small, and sometimes angled downward to prevent easy climbing or entry. In practical terms, anyone reinforcing a home today can learn from this. Physical positioning can amplify security. A door set slightly back or with an overhang is harder to attack directly and small elevated windows reduce vulnerability without sacrificing light or ventilation. Medieval ironwork favoured large nails and hand-forged hinges, which were deliberately oversized to resist removal. Wooden pins, wedges and mortise joints were preferred over screws or delicate mechanisms because they didn't loosen under stress. The principle carries forward. Sometimes the simplest method is, honestly, the most effective. Modern reproductions of historical doors often fail because they use lightweight screws and hinges instead of replicating the mass and durability of the originals. For those of you looking to take this knowledge beyond theory, well, start with what medieval builders focused on: materials, redundancy, and placement. You know, even a small cabin can benefit from reinforced doors, staggered locks, and elevated or barred windows. And believe it or not, even decorative iron straps can increase structural integrity. For enthusiasts in urban settings, think of layering security in the same way. Multiple deadbolts, internal reinforcement, and small windows in vulnerable areas mirror centuries of European defensive logic. These are strategies refined over decades of raids, sieges, and everyday threats, a blueprint proven by history. Understanding these methods isn't just academic. It provides insight into why European homes and fortresses could endure conflict for generations. The combination of durable materials, strategic placement, and layered security is a design principle that modern architects, survivalists, and history buffs can study and adapt. Securing doors and windows in the past wasn't about style. It was about survival, and the techniques they developed endured because they were practical, resilient, and thoughtfully designed for the challenges of the time. Every iron strap, recessed doorway, and barred window tells a story of centuries of conflict, adaptation, and human ingenuity. If you found this guide useful, make sure to subscribe to Warpaths of Europe, share it with fellow history enthusiasts, and leave a comment on which historical security technique you'd like to see explored next. There's a wealth of lessons waiting in every fortress and farmhouse across Europe, and understanding them can give you a deeper appreciation for the ingenuity of the past.